Well, let's talk about harm. Let's go back to that 5-year-old girl. What do you think it did to her to have a grown man molest her? Just thinking about it, what do you think your actions did to that little girl as she was growing up?
Well, my action, what I think I done to her, that I have ruined her life, and that I know that I was wrong for what I did, but I really didn't molest her. No. See, this is my father was staying with her mother, and they had left the kids by the house, and I thought I was doing the right thing by bringing them.
We are about to watch a Louisiana parole hearing about a man who has 3 offenses. Louisiana somehow allowed him to stay out and harm the most vulnerable, not just a 5-year-old, but also a 13-year-old disabled girl, before finally his 3rd offense got him locked up. With that, let's jump in.
Just real quick, I do want to announce we do have one participant who is the victim who will not be speaking. Okay, this is a case for FELTON Kuzan, DOC number 240644, date of birth January 6th, classified as a second felony offender, offense, forcible rape, habitual offender, sentencing date August 28th, 2000, sentenced to a total of 50 years. Parole date August 1st, 2021. Good time, not eligible. Full term, February 5th, 2047. Is this information correct, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson.
Good morning, Mr. Kuzan.
Good morning, ma'am.
How are you today?
Oh, I'm blessed.
Okay. My name is Bonnie Jackson. Your case has been assigned to me, so I'll start questioning for the board.
Yes,
You're 56 years old, Mr. Kuzan?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much time have you served on this charge?
I've been down since 1995.
Okay. You don't know how many years that is? It's about 27. Does that sound about right?
Right in between that, they're about 20 something.
Okay. Kuzan, this is a really difficult situation that we have before us this morning.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you
do. This is a rape of a mother in her home with her children present. You knew her somewhat because you were the cousin of the victim's friend, so you kind of knew of her, or she knew of you. You were already you'd already been convicted of a molestation of a juvenile, and that child was 5 years old at the time. You also had an arrest that was not prosecuted, but it was for carnal knowledge of a juvenile of a 13-year-old mentally disabled young girl. Is all of that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I do see that you have completed all phases of sex offender treatment. So let me talk to you about that. What did you learn about yourself in those sex offender classes that you took?
What I learned about myself is about, watch my surroundings, watch the type of people that I build on.
No, that's not about yourself. Your surroundings and the people had nothing to do with your molesting a 5-year-old girl, a 13-year-old girl, and raping the victim in this case. That has nothing to do with your surroundings. What I want to know is, what did you learn that helped you understand why you were committing all of these sexual offenses?
Yes, ma'am. What I learned, not to do drugs that would cause me to do not to do drugs or drink to cause me to do them type of things like that there. And admit to myself that I know that is wrong. That you can't go around drinking and getting high and doing people them type of things.
Well, but Mr. Kuzan, a lot of people drink and do drugs and they commit crimes, but they're not sexual crimes. They don't rape people. They don't molest babies. A 5-year-old is just a baby, and they don't have sex with a 13-year-old who has mental disabilities. None of that has to do with drinking. That has to do with something in you that you have these urges to have inappropriate sexual conduct.
That's why I took the class so I could learn.
I know you took the class, but I want to know what you got out of the class.
I got out of class, I can't be doing things like this there because that'll cause me and put me in situations and places like this here.
Well, okay. Well, did you take victim awareness?
Yes, ma'am.
So what is victim awareness?
Victim aware that you have a victim.
That's
Yeah.
all you learned? Go ahead.
No, I learned victim aware that you have a victim. You got to learn the victim that you have, that you hurt their families, their loved ones, and stuff like that. Then you got to remember and apologize to the victims and their families and what you called them harm.
Well, let's talk about harm. Let's go back to that 5-year-old girl. What do you think it did to her to have a grown man molest her? What do you, just thinking about it, what do you think your actions did to that little girl as she was growing up?
Well, my action, what I think I done to her, that I have ruined her life, and that, I know that I was wrong for what I did, but I really didn't molest her, no. See, this is my father was staying with her mother, and they had left the kids by the house, and I thought I was doing the right thing by bringing them to my mother's house. And I had kids.
But again, Mr. Kuzan, you were either convicted or you pled guilty to molestation. So we're not here to retry the case. All right?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's talk about the rape. How do you think your actions affected that woman that you raped in her home with her 3 little children present? How do you think your actions might have affected her life?
Very harm. I think I affected her very harm, affected her life very, in a very disrespectful manner way.
Go ahead.
And I know that, I asked the victim and their family that they would please have mercy upon me, and, that she knows that I had a mental problem, and I wish I wouldn't have done them type of things to her.
Well, tell me, what kind of mental problem did you have?
I have a nerve problem, and at that time I was hearing voices and everything, because I was taking treatment in Jackson, Louisiana before I come here for a year and a half.
Are you receiving any kind of medication right now for mental health?
No, ma'am, I was taking Thorazine, but it was messing me up.
And when did you stop taking Thorazine?
About a couple of years ago.
When you say messing you up, what do you mean?
When I was taking it, it was messing with my mind. I was hearing more voices, and it was dropping my sugar.
Okay. Well, it's concerning that if you have a mental health issue and you're saying these mental health issues contributed to your committing these crimes, and now you're telling me you didn't want to take the medicine because it was messing with you, then it makes me worry about you being out and you're not being willing to take medication.
When I was out, I take my medicine that slightly of mental health. That's why I was taking.
But it didn't stop you from committing these crimes.
But I choose another selection that I start serving God and give my life to God. And say, like I told Mr. Pastor Holloway that I was going to join his church when I get out and get in the choir.
Okay. Warren, what could you tell us about Mr. Cousin?
I know he's going to the church services and he has been through all the sex offender treatment program classes we have. I will address, I did look in, we do an interview with him prior to the board. I did look at the last two write-ups he had. They were having a problem. He was getting some pressure on him by some inmates in the dorm and he handled it badly. They kind of explained that he made comments that were, threatening, but it never, it was because they were pressuring him. And once we moved him, we didn't have that problem anymore.
And that was in 2020?
Yes, ma'am. Outside of that, his record speaks for itself.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Cousin. I appreciate talking with you. And Mr. Wise,
Yes,
that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I don't see anyone else be speaking. Anything you'd like to say to the board before we vote?
I'd like to say, I was asking the board to have mercy upon me and let me go home and take care of my mother and join Mr. Josh Holloway church and join his choir. Because I told him whenever I get out, I'm going to come and join his church and get in his choir. And I asked that the parole board, would grant me this board, and I showed the board, not only them, myself, that I become a better person and become a better citizen out there.
Right. Okay, well, thank you very much. Ms. Bonnie Jackson will be asking some questions.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Cousin, you have done some positive things since you've been incarcerated. I'm glad that you've taken sex offender treatment and victim awareness, but I'm not quite sure that you've gotten out of those programs what you need to get out of them. You have a history of sexual crimes, a molestation of a 5-year-old girl, sex with a 13-year-old mentally impaired girl, and then rape of a woman with her children present in the home. Those are all very troubling things. You've indicated that you have mental health issues and you have declined to take the medication. You have a high risk assessment. You've got strong opposition from the judge, the DA, and the sheriff, and the victim of the rape is strongly opposed to your being released. And so for those reasons, Mr. Cousin, my vote today is going to be to deny, but I encourage you to keep working.
Yes,
Maybe you
ma'am.
need to get back in the sex offender classes. I know you just completed them in September, but I just don't feel like you've gotten a real understanding of your conduct and why you commit sex acts against victims. But my vote today is to deny.
All right, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Cousin, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good. Mr. Cousin, I really don't think you have any idea, not one bit of understanding on the damage that you did to your victims.
Yes, sir.
The victim is still mentally, physically, and emotionally affected by this crime. Her 3 daughters are affected by this crime. They were in the next room, and you threatened the victim that you would do bodily harm to her daughters if she didn't cooperate. What mother would take a chance or getting her children hurt. And you knew that. You were not intoxicated. You were not on drugs. You knew exactly what you were doing. The victim is vehemently opposed to any clemency. The DA office is opposed. Law enforcement is opposed. You have a high risk assessment. You have a high needs assessment. And quite frankly, Mr. Kuzan,
Yes, sir.
I still think that you're a danger to public safety. For all the reasons I just articulated, my vote is to deny your request.
Yes, sir.
At this time, I'm gonna be voting, Mr. Felton, I think you need to work on some more programs. You've been down a long
Yes,
time.
sir.
You got some serious crime, high risk, high needs assessment. Work real hard while you're in. Today, I'm gonna vote the same as my colleagues. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, sir.
Good night.
All right.
All righty. Yeah, we'll take care. All righty.
Yeah, there you have it. You can't make it up. Really, this is like the definition of if you didn't see it, you might not believe it, because how is it possible? How is it possible? You hear the list of Miss Jackson going over, and even she seems dumbfounded. But what makes it even worse, if that's possible, even worse. But what is that? Remember that he got away with these offenses. It's the system that allowed him to get away with it. They didn't even prosecute him on, maybe it was the 5-year-old or the disabled 13-year-old, which is what allowed him to then have the third offense. So it's, again, until we can start holding the system that's put in place, the legislator, the prosecutor, the judges, to protect us, it's should we yell at the monster? Should we yell at someone who is evil? Yeah, but really, what we should do is hold accountable the people in place that even allow it to happen. I mean, I'm looking at the information that Richard provided, and I can go back to the screen, because, for those of you who maybe just jumped on, the part of this stream was to show everything that what Richard does. So here's the spreadsheet, and I can't believe I missed this hearing. Really, I had to go back because it wasn't highlighted in red. So this is before we started the color coding thing. So I'll highlight it in red, and although he put the notes, But so here's all the links that Richard provided. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I don't share these links because they have personal information and I'll get a YouTube strike. But it allows me to click on it and easily find what it is that I'm looking for. And he has the date of conviction for molestation of a juvenile on April 10th, 1989. It says that he was revoked. It doesn't say when, but he was released in 1997. So, and it says he was released on his full term date in 1997. So what that means is that we're not 100% sure. Either it was the 5-year-old or it was the mentally disabled 13-year-old. But it means that he only served, in 1989, he only served a few years because he was paroled. Then he was revoked, and I bet you it was for one of these other offenses he was revoked for, and they didn't try him. And then he got out in 1997. So at most, he got 8 years for molesting a 5-year-old. But we know he got less than 8 years because he was paroled, re-offended, and then got in his full-term date. So again, that's the system. That's the system. Then it was in year 2000 that he sexually assaulted a mother in front of her 3 kids, and he got the 50-year sentence he has today. His full term date is 2047. And I'm going to probably I want to do this hearing as a stream. Do you guys mind if we redo it as a premiere? Because I can't, this is just, this one is one of those in the books, hearings that are just absolutely insane. And Laura, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Yeah, even when you know it's bad when even Griggs thinks they should be locked up indefinitely. Yeah, I'll do it again. I just really, from seeing this, I didn't say I didn't know what to expect. I couldn't believe it. It's like, not that I couldn't believe, but what's good about this hearing is that it's a Miss Jackson interview. So it's not like Jim Wise or Miss Wise or Brennan Kelsey just like, oh, okay, yeah, great. And to top it off, you have a Mr. Roche mic drop. So it's like those are the hearings that I like to find. Yes, I am live, Mr. Jesse. Yeah, buddy. I am live. It's a surprise live stream. Hello, Phyllis. Well, you know what's interesting is that I'll spend a lot of time in the day doing the stream. So what if I do a live stream to the members only? Because I'm sitting here anyways, and then I just record it. But the problem is that there'd be too much editing. Jesse. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, Griggs. And just think about this. There is no one with any rational thinking that would say that he's only offended 3 times. No, it means he was caught 3 times, which means there's no doubt in my mind that he was probably offending against that 5-year-old since that 5-year-old was born, or that he was offending against a mentally disabled 13-year-old for years, and that he has probably hundreds of victims. Hundreds. Yeah, buddy. And just to think about that, and then again to think that it's the system that released him on parole. He got revoked. They didn't resentence him, and he did it again. Yeah, exactly, Griggs. I mean, he is hundreds of victims, maybe more. Okay, I'm back now, live, but not live. Obviously, this could be any given time, but what I just shared with you was a part of a live stream that I did. It's a members only live stream. I've done a couple of them. If you guys like them, maybe I'll do more of them more often. You don't need to become a member. My goal is everything that I put on memberships, I eventually share to the public. Again, the whole idea of why we do this is that the public sees everything. But if you did want to become a member, it costs 99 cents. You don't need to worry about it. There's multiple tiers, some of you, and I'm really grateful for who you are. You know who you are. Do pay the extra fees. You don't get anything extra for it. It's just if you are like really into supporting the channel, you can do that. But for 99 cents, you can get everything. I've never done a promo for the membership thing before. I think if you know me by now, you'll know that this is not a sales pitch. I'm just trying to share information. During the stream, it costs $3 for some reason. YouTube doesn't allow me to lower that. So when you buy memberships, like as gifts, it's $3 membership, but you can get the same thing for 99 cents. If you just do it, however you do it. But yeah, so that was a membership live stream. It's cool to do the live streams because I feel like it's more like, it's more like a closer fam, like a community. Everyone there is supportive. No one's just going to jump on. And so it's more like do the stream and then chat and say, hey, and you can talk and share your thoughts and I can talk back. And it's fun. I actually really enjoyed doing it. And I think I'll do more of them, and I can like double down because I do the live stream and then I can edit parts of it and then do it as a regular premiere. So it's I think a win-win all around. But anyways, let's go jump to another hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so you are Bobby Plant, DOC number 196092. You're here because you submitted an application for a commutation of sentence, and you were sentenced on September 7, 2000 in East Baton Rouge to life for conviction, aggravated rape, simple kidnapping, aggravated battery, and second-degree battery. Is that information correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Marabella. Answer his question.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Plant, my name is Tony Marabella. I've got a few questions I want to ask you. How old are you, sir?
I'm 60,
And how long have you been in prison on these charges?
22 years.
I notice in looking at your record, you've got a history of violence in your past, maybe a DWI, drinking. Tell me a little bit about your propensity for violence. Do you have anger issues?
No, sir. Also, I don't have a DWI.
Well, you had some sort of I'm sorry, you're right. It was operating on a suspended driver's license.
Yes, sir.
So tell me a little bit about your violence. You got anger issues?
No, sir. I don't have any anger issues. I guess sometimes I just lose it. That's how it used to be. That was my past. I think that's what it was.
Well, when you say sometimes you just lose it, what does that mean? You don't think that's an anger issue when you lose it?
Yeah, I would say so, but not anymore. I wouldn't say that I do now. I was just bullheaded back then. I was young and foolish and just didn't think of things that I was doing before I did it.
All right. Now, you're in prison right now for an aggravated rape charge that occurred in the year 2000.
Yes, sir.
You were also arrested in 1987 on an aggravated rape charge and a crime against nature charge. You weren't prosecuted for that, but you were arrested for that. What was that about?
Well,
What was that about?
That was another incident that wasn't true also. An issue between my girlfriend and her kids, I guess, because we used to fight too. And somehow, I guess it was a plot to get rid of me.
Okay. So you weren't prosecuted for that. That didn't happen. You said just like another incident that didn't happen. Like your position is, even though a jury has found you guilty of aggravated rape, you didn't do it. That's what I'm reading in your report. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You also say in your application that you're applying because you didn't know what else to do. What do you expect to get here today? What's your outcome, hopefully?
I'm hoping that something good will come out of it. I'm looking for at least a time cut or maybe credit for time served.
You accept the fact that you were convicted of aggravated rape. Jury convicted you, right?
Right.
And the judge sentenced you, right?
Right.
You know, I assume you know that part of that rehabilitation is to take sex offender treatment. Are you aware of that?
No, sir.
You have refused to take sex offender treatment since you've been in prison. Why is that?
Well, because I didn't do it. And also I didn't know that I would have to do it to get here. I took anger management. I took the other classes that was necessary, but that was never offered. I didn't know it even exist.
Mr. Plant, you know, in the law, one is presumed innocent until they're convicted. You have been convicted. You no longer have the presumption of innocence. You can sit there all day and say, I didn't do this, but the law says you did, and you're in prison.
Right.
And with that comes responsibility to do certain things. One of which is when you're convicted of rape or sex offenses, there are programs in prison that might help you in the event you're ultimately released, even if you claim you didn't do anything.
Right.
But you have, it's my understanding, and I've looked at your record, that you have refused to take sex offender treatment. It's in your medical record. It's in your prison record. Why?
I don't remember refusing. I took the classes. I don't remember.
You took some classes, but you
Right.
did not take sex
sex
offender, specific sex offender treatment that is offered and has been offered to you. How long have you been in prison?
22 years.
So tell me how you've changed since you've been in prison.
Well, a lot of in my change. I think now before I moved, which was something I wasn't doing. I count my pros and cons before I do anything. I think, and that's the biggest thing of my change. I don't just jump out and do things anymore. I've learned a lot. Took classes that actually helped me.
What classes are those, and what is it that you learned?
Well, which was I took the class substance abuse. I took the class anger management. A bunch of more I can't think off the top of my head, but those two they kind of stuck with me. I took the 100 hours program. I took numerous church classes in the religious program, the faith-based program.
I saw that.
Yes, sir. I think that's what helped the change in my life because it dealt with my spiritual part of me, and it really helped. I took that class more seriously, mostly because I felt the change.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your substance abuse. Did you use drugs back then?
At one time, I did, sir.
What kind of drugs did you use?
It was cocaine.
Okay, and how often were you using cocaine?
Maybe once or twice a week.
Okay. Were you using cocaine the night of this offense?
No, sir.
Okay. Were you using cocaine the night you were accused of aggravated rape in 1987?
No, sir.
So tell me what happened here. If you didn't do this, what happened on the, why are you in prison?
Well, if I could say, sir, because of a lie, I can understand why her mother made her go to the hospital and say that she was raped because we had a fight. And I can understand her doing that because I hit Rhonda. And I admit that I hit Rhonda several times. And she came home with a bruised face and it wasn't nice. And her mother made her go to the hospital and to get back at me, told her to say that she was raped.
Okay.
And
you went to trial and
yes,
a jury of 12 persons found that you, in fact, raped her. Is that right?
Yeah, right.
So didn't happen. Everybody just lied on you.
Didn't happen. It was a guilty plea with no evidence and with no proof.
I don't think you pled guilty. I think you went to trial and were found guilty. Am I wrong about that?
Right. I was found guilty.
So that's not a guilty plea. That's a trial.
Guilty verdict. I meant to say
Right.
guilty verdict.
All right. That's all the questions I have, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Marabella. Mr. Jones?
Yes, Mr. Plant, how are you this afternoon?
All right. I'm good.
Tell me a little bit growing up. Can you hear me?
We can't hear Mr.
Plant, can you hear me?
We hear you now.
I don't think you can hear me. Mr. Plant, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Tell me a little bit about your growing up, your family life.
It was good. It was great. No
Mother
problem.
and father?
Sir?
Mother and father in the home?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What
Breaking up again, Mr.
Did you
Jones.
finish high school?
Yes, sir.
High school?
Yes, sir. 12th grade.
You finished 12th grade?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any drug problems, drug use?
I didn't hear you, sir.
I think he asked you. Any drug
No,
drug
sir.
problems?
No, sir.
No drug problems? Never used drugs as a teenager?
As a teenager.
No, sir.
You never used drugs as a teenager?
No, sir.
Okay, good. Have you ever used drugs?
At one,
Have you ever used drugs,
at one,
sir?
yes, sir. At one particular time, maybe a 7-month stretch.
Okay. Any history of any mental evaluations?
No, sir.
No, never been mental evaluation.
No, sir. None of that.
Okay. Okay. I don't have any other questions, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Wise?
You know, Mr. Platt, I was listening to you a while ago. You said, well, I didn't do this. That's why I didn't take it. You need to take all 4 phases of the sex offender program. You
Okay.
understand?
Yes, sir.
All 4 phases. I mean, you saying you didn't do it, you didn't, but you're having to serve time for it. There's nothing we can do about that unless you get an attorney and find a wrong conviction or something. But it's, we got to deal with what we have to. We can't retry the case for you. Okay.
Right. I understand.
But one of the things you need to do is work on them sex offender programs.
Okay.
I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Roche?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have no questions, but Warden Bernard, would you like to make any comments, remarks, or observations?
No, so I think Mr. Marabella went through everything very thoroughly.
Thank you, Warden. Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. I don't have any questions. We'd like to hear from the folks who are here speaking in support. And could we start with Mr. Dennis Plant? You have to unmute your microphone, sir. There we go.
Okay, there we go. How are y'all today?
Good, thank you.
Good, good. My name is Dennis Plant, and I'm brother. What I like to say first is that I acknowledge Jesus as our Lord and Savior. He's our pardon bearer, Savior, and God is our Heavenly Father. I want to thank the Pardon Board, for giving Bobby the opportunity to be granted this hearing today. I like to say that the Angola system has done a great justice to him. I've been visiting him for years. I've talked to him on emails, pertaining to situations, pertaining to life, and one thing to another. And from my perspective, I've seen a major change in him. I like to say that, the Angola system literally has saved his life, not just in a physical and a earthly manner, but in a spiritual and heavenly. I would also like to take this time and the opportunity to offer the victim in this matter, my deepest apology, expression of regret for any hurt or harm that may have been geared toward them or toward her. I would ask you and the Plant family to please find in your heart to forgive Bobby for any transgressions, offenses, or wrongdoings. I am grateful for the opportunity to speak on Bobby's behalf. For Bobby, and I do attest to the changes in Bobby's character and life that I have seen and observed. And I witnessed the pouring out of his heart about situations that he has been through throughout this whole ordeal. I've sensed his remorse and past actions and a will to treat other people with respect and dignity. When I first went to prison, when he first went to prison, it was very, very hard for him. I witnessed the anger that he had. I witnessed, the rehabilitation, how it has literally changed his life to the point that he's a much better person. I witnessed, like I say, the anger, which now through the course of talking with him through email and visited him, I've witnessed the dissipation of that anger that they talked about. I've witnessed, the softening of his heart, because when he went to prison, at that time for him, it was a very dark time. But I've witnessed the softness of his heart. So I would also like to say that, I've seen Bobby at his lowest points. I've seen him at his highest points. I've seen his cries. I've seen his laughs. I've seen all of his disappointments, whenever he thought he was going to go to court and it was rejected for whatever reason, to that degree. I'm also, I don't know if this will be in order, but I do have a document from the court, and this talked of his verdict. Would it be okay if I read that?
No, we have all the documents from the court. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
because,
Mr. Dennis.
I was listening to Mr. Tony, and from what I've read, that there was no proof, according to the doctor's examination, of one thing to another. And when I talked to Bobby about this situation, like he said, I think he just either confessed what was he was being accused of, or maybe that of fear, but I'm not sure what the case may have been.
Well, that's not what we're here for today, Mr. Dennis. We're
Right.
We're here to make a clemency decision based on the facts that we have in our record. We do appreciate you taking the time to give us some remarks and your thoughts about your brother. But at this time, we're out of time, so we'll need to move on to your sister, Ms. Deborah Plant. Ms. Deborah, we'd like to hear from you.
Okay, good afternoon. You hear me okay? Okay, good afternoon to the members of the board and to all the participants in this meeting. I and my family thank the board for this opportunity to speak on behalf of our brother, Bobby Plant. Bobby is ready to come home. I've heard what's been said so far, and I understand what's been said so far. And even in context of that, Bobby is ready to come home. He's capable and prepared to live his life in the larger society. He has done the work necessary. And I'm hearing too that there's other things that he might have done and may still need to be doing. And he also spoke about what he has done. And in context of what he has done, that work has transformed his character and changed his behavior. And that behavior that led to his incarceration, this is what my brother is remarking about. There's been a great change in relation to that. Bobby had a temper that manifested specifically in his aggression against the women that he had relationships with. And his temper was exacerbated by substance abuse. But as a family, we had tried to help Bobby with these issues all during his ups and downs before incarceration. And we were there for him. But the fact of the matter is that no matter how much your family and friends may love you and want to help you, they can't change you. A person has to want to change and then do the work required to bring that change about. And Bobby has done that. He's engaged in that. And I have no doubt that he will keep doing the work that needs to be done. He has been incarcerated for over 20 years, but he has not been just doing time. He has taken time as a gift, and he has utilized that time to bring about the transformation that is evident in his personality and his character today. He has used time to reflect on and come to terms with his anger and aggression. And he has also used that time to be introspective, to examine not only what he had done and how what he had done had affected the people in his life. He has also committed himself to learning how to overcome being that kind of person. Through his Bible study, his ongoing conversations with our dad when our dad was still alive, and with our brother Dennis and his wife Dawn, all three who visited him on a regular basis, Bobby deepened his spiritual growth and understanding. I believe that in the main, his spiritual growth and his self-reflection allowed him the strength to face the shame of his actions and the courage to take responsibility, for his behavior. Bobby doesn't blame anyone for what he did. He doesn't blame anyone for the consequences of his actions. He knows it all lies with him. His deeper understanding about life and his own agency and all that has occurred up to this point is also a reflection of the grace of God. And Bobby's study of and understanding of scripture, he has discovered his own redemption. And I believe that this is what has allowed him to seek forgiveness from those he had harmed. When Bobby was allowed to attend our father's funeral, he spoke with his former wife, Geraldine, who is with us today. One of the first things he did upon approaching her was to ask her for permission to speak to her. And in doing that, he demonstrated that he recognized boundaries and understood clearly that a woman had a voice and a right to choose what she wanted to do and not do. It also demonstrated that he had learned sincere respect for another person and her humanity. This was also an indication of Bobby's own growing self-respect and maturity. Bobby's change and transformation of personality and character are documented in the hundreds of pages of letters that I have received from him over these years. In his letters, he expressed his regret and remorse about his past deeds. Bobby's sentiment in his letters have matched his actions in reality, which is an indication of his integrity and authenticity. In addition to his sense of responsibility and his humility, what stands out most in his letters is his sense of gratitude. He has always expressed his thankfulness for everything in his life and for our family, and he knows that we are here to support and assist with his reintegration into full community life. A job is waiting for him with our brother Dennis, and he has his choice of rooms in our family home. Everyone is committed to supporting Bobby financially, materially, morally, and as he transitions into full independence. And we will hold him up. But most importantly, it is Bobby's own will to be a better human being and a responsible human being and citizen that signals his readiness to rejoin society. And we will walk that path with him. I will be ever so glad to have my brother back.
Thank you, Ms. Plain. Can you wrap it up for us? Is that
Yes, even even as we have remained in constant communication, and I have visited him whenever I could. I have always felt as though a piece of me were missing. He is my younger brother, but often were the times he comforted me and advised me and shared his wisdom with me. And I thank him for that. Bobby never stopped caring. He's never stopped being my brother. And we will always support him, and I will always support him however I can. We all thank you for this opportunity to allow us to speak in support of Bobby and for Bobby's freedom. We're all sorry for the hurt and the harm our brother has caused others. He has prayed for and personally asked for forgiveness, and he has worked very hard to reclaim and reform his life. We appreciate your consideration of our brother's petition for clemency. We humbly ask that you show him mercy and release him back into our care. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, we'd like to hear from Ms. Geraldine Whitfield. And Ms. Whitfield, I'm going to have to limit you to 2 minutes so that we have ample time to hear from the victim.
You can
There we
hear me?
go. Yes,
You can hear
ma'am.
me?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good evening to everyone. I'd like to thank the family for giving me the opportunity to speak. Like my sister-in-law said, I was at the father's funeral and he came up to me and apologized and asked me, will I accept it? And I told him yes. And I saw a change over him. You know, prior to that, 2006, he sent me a 10-page letter, but it wasn't like seeing him in person. And I told him, I say, you seem like the husband that I married now, you know, and I saw a big change in him, and I'm hoping God see favor on him, you know. And I would like, my son would like to just say one little thing, please. Sorry about it.
Can't hear.
You can't hear me?
Yes, I'll give him a minute and a half, and then time,
Okay,
we're out of time.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, hello, how everyone doing? I just wanted to speak on behalf of my father also. Growing up, we didn't really have a father-son type of relationship, but once he got incarcerated and I started visiting him, we started to try to begin a friendship to get to that track as father and son. And I think to myself also that prison saved his life. It put him in a place to where he had to sit down and pick up his actions and reflect on people that he harmed and people that loved him. And it's crazy to say, but we kind of developed a father and son relationship while he was in prison. I just turned 42, and like I said, when I was younger, my dad was in and out of my life, but I would like to see him home, and we can continue to grow our relationship and be a part of my life, my wife's life. Everybody just waiting for him to come home, and brothers, my uncles and aunties, and I'm also sorry for the victim that's in this too. I mean, something was done, and you know he had to be punished for it or whatever the case was. But I think it's just time to be put behind and move on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We appreciate your input. At this time, we'd like to hear from Ms. Rhonda Jackson.
Okay, hi, my name is Rhonda Jackson, and I'm here to talk about this today. It's hard on me also because I was the one that had to go through it all, and I felt the pain and the hurt and the licks and everything that occurred and all that occurred. I don't hate Bobby because I love God. But I forgive him, but I'm scared of him. I'm afraid for my life because I almost died that time, and I had to have surgery and everything. And I don't think that he should be out again because, like I said, I fear for my life. And also, my mom that he was referring to is 83 years old, and she's here today. And thank God I still have her here. And she helped me out through this ordeal. And this is our daughter sitting right here next to me and Bobby's daughter. So we still here. And thank God I lived through it. But I don't, like I said, I don't hate nobody. And I want to just let everybody know that I don't think that he should be out because I'm scared. I went through a lot with this. And matter of fact, I still go, through thinking about it and stuff. So that's what I'm dealing with. And
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. We appreciate you sharing your remarks with us this afternoon. We appreciate it. We'd like to hear from the DA's office. Ms. Barbera? I think I show you're not on.
Speak.
There you go.
Ma'am, I was supposed to speak as well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
On the list, Joycelyn Jackson.
Miss Joycelyn, I do see. I didn't understand that you were going to speak. Go ahead, ma'am. I apologize.
I just want to say that he never reached out after he spoke to all his family and everybody, wrote them letters. He never reached out to my mother to apologize. He claims that my grandmother is the one that made her say things, but my mother came home that night. I witnessed when she came home, blood everywhere. She was hurt. Her eyes were swollen. She was beat and brutalized so badly, ma'am. And I saw everything. And I don't know who knows what, but my daddy knows what happened that night. And he is not admitting to anything.
Joycelyn, calm down.
And it's hurt my heart because he knows how I felt about him. That was my daddy. He still is. And it hurts me so bad that he's sitting there saying this was all off of a lie. And it was not.
Joycelyn, calm down.
That's all I would like to say.
And
well, Joycelyn, thank you for sharing with us. I apologize for the trauma you're experiencing. Let me explain something to you, though. You were hurt because he hasn't reached out to you or your mother to apologize. He can't do that. He's prohibited by law from doing that. Just want you to be aware of that, okay? Now, Ms. Barbera, we'd like to hear from your office.
Thank you. We adamantly oppose his request this afternoon, not just because of the violent nature of the underlying offense, but quite frankly, his lack of remorse and victim blaming is just offensive. His refusal to attend the sex offender treatment, and I cannot imagine what this lady went through many years ago and what their daughter is going through now. And we just ask that his request be denied. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate the DA's input. Mr. Plant, is there a statement you'd like to make before we reach a decision?
I would like to say that I am sorry for my actions toward Rhonda. I never got a chance to say it, but I am. I'm very sorry for hitting Rhonda. It's nothing else I could say to make her believe me, even my daughter Jocelyn. But I'm very sorry for the whole incident, everything that took place that night. I'm very sorry. And that's what I'd like to end it right there.
All right, thank you, sir. I think is the board prepared to vote? I'll ask Mr. Marabella.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Plant, it sounds like you've done well while you've been in prison. Everyone seems to agree that you had a drug problem, anger problem when you came to prison. You are addressing those issues. you continue to believe or to claim you didn't commit this crime, and that's your right to be able to do that if you wish. A jury has found you guilty, which means under the law, you are guilty. And part of the problem that you have in what you've done in not accepting the fact that you're guilty of this is that you've refused to take sex offender treatment. You're going in the right direction. You're moving in the right direction. I hope that you continue to do that. You need to take this sex offender treatment and perhaps some more programs that are offered to you. The next time you come before the board, once you've completed all of those things, I might look a little differently at you. But today, my vote would be to deny.
Thank you, Mr. Marabella. Mr. Jones?
Madam Chairman, my vote is the same for the same reason been stated by Mr. Marabella.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wise?
Well, today I'm gonna be voting to deny. Like I said, those sex offender treatments, you got 4 phases of them. Go take those classes and get this behind you. The thing is, we're not here to retry you again. You already been tried. You guilty. We can't help that you don't believe that you don't need to take them. So if you ain't got them taken, the next time you come before this board, you're gonna probably get the same thing you got today. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Mr. Roche?
Mr. Plant, based upon adamant opposition from the victim, adamant opposition from the DA's office, law enforcement opposition, and what I think is insufficient time served, 22 years for aggravated rape, my vote is to deny your request.
And Mr. Plant, based on the lack of the sex offender treatment, and that's the reason why you're in jail is for a sex offense, and the opposition that's been expressed here today, my vote also is to deny your application. So I encourage you to get signed up for the classes, and at such time as you're eligible to do so, feel free to reapply for another clemency consideration. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
So unfortunately, I have nothing to review. I don't have appeals. I don't have court records. There's nothing available on this case. It means he probably didn't file any appeals. So all I can do is comment on the hearing. And I mean, when someone has an accusation of an aggravated sexual assault in 1987, and then they have a second accusation and conviction of an aggravated sexual assault, you just have to believe the trend there. I mean, to try to make up a story and say, well, he was falsely accused twice, you just have to be so naive. And so often we see those who are sitting here to be surrounded by support that like to deny the reality of the facts of the case. And it's just always frustrating. And you see here where, and good for the daughter of standing up and speaking up, even with her mother telling her to calm down. And she said, no, I'm not going to calm down, in so many words. You know, the whole family, extended family, is standing up, and she comes up there and like a true hero. And that must have been so difficult. And I'm glad that it wasn't lost in time and that it was able to be preserved in a time capsule here on YouTube to see someone stand up for what's right, because she knows what's right. She knows what she saw that night. She saw her mother beaten. She knows what happened. And she stood up for what's right. And that's powerful. And the idea that he just thought he can get away with it, and at his own hearing, he's saying he did nothing. It was the mother just made her go to the hospital, made her tell, he said the words, I think he said, unfortunately, her mother made her go to the hospital and made her tell her that I sexually assaulted her. And it's like, I don't believe you for 1 second. And you're insulting everyone. You're insulting the process. And the idea that people come up and support you, it's just disturbing. You know what you did. You did it. Now own up to it. Stop denying it. And all the people that are supporting him, and it's not helping. And thankfully, really thankfully, Tracy Barbero was there with the DA's office. I love her. She's my favorite, and it just makes a big difference. Imagine if the victims didn't have that extra bit of support. I think it makes a huge difference. Then, of course, you get the typical incompetency of Victor Jones and Jim Wise. I really don't enjoy doing hearings with Jim Wise. Victor Jones, having them together, it's even more ridiculous. Pretty sure I listened in this hearing. Was it Mr. Marabella asked him all these questions, and then Victor Jones jumped in and basically asked the same exact questions, as if he didn't listen to a word Marabella had said, and then he just ends it with, "Okay, that's it, no questions." And it's it's like, that's what an insult to the process. It's like you're not even paying attention. But he was denied. This hearing took place in 2021. By the time of recording is 2024, so it's been 3 years. We might see him again in a couple of years after he's done all his programs. Like, it would make a difference. But he's 70 years old, and maybe by the time he's released, he won't be a threat. Although you heard it, you heard the fear that they have of him. And victims should always come first, in my opinion. Survivors should come first. With that, we'll move to the next hearing.